ज्येष्ठराजं हवामहे कविं कवीनामुपमश्रवस्तमं ज्येष्ठराजं ब्रह्मणां ब्रह्मणस्पत आनशृण्वन्नोतिभिस्सीदसादनं प्रणो देवी सरस्वती वाजेभिर्वाजिनीवती धीनामवित्रयवतु गणेशाय नमः सरस्वत्यै नमः श्रीगुरुभ्यो नमः हरिः ॐ शान्ति शान्ति शान्तिः. Saram, welcome you all for the first experience sharing for the year of 2025. Pasrija, thank you so much for starting this 100th celebrations with your experience sharing.
Thank you.
With that, I request for the manager to introduce Uncle. Sir.
My most loving pranams, the divine lotus feet of our beloved Bhagavan Sri Sat Sai Baba. Sairam all.
Sairam.
I don't think we need an introduction. I mean, we all know Jagan Uncle, popularly known as Jagan Uncle, you know. He is one of the founders for our Detroit Metro Sci Center. It was initially called a Southfield Sci Center. So Jagan Uncle is just 89 years younger. Uncle, you are not old. You are 89 years younger. And Jagan Uncle came into Swami's fold in 1978 to 79. So it's been more than 40 years of association with Swami and being in the spiritual journey with Swami. Jagan Uncle is a retired civil engineer from the city of Detroit, and he retired in 2002. And he's been living in Detroit from 1994. Jagan Uncle used to live in Ann Arbor, Michigan in the years 1973 to 84, and that's when he used to attend the Ann Arbor Sci Center over there. And also he lived in Houston, Texas from 84 to 87. Jagan Uncle served as a president in Sai Center, both the places. Jagan and Asha and his son Sandeep studied in Lord Swamiji School in India from 88 to 93. Jagan Uncle and family also lived in Toledo, Ohio, and had Sai Center in their home. Uncle looks like, you know, you and Swami had that internal connection. You know, wherever you go, you know, Swami builds a center, you know, over there. And Jagan and Asha Aunty, you know, both of them has been a regular visitor to Prashant Nilayam and stayed there for 2 to 3 months at times. You know, we hear a lot of things, right? You know, in Satya also, you know, people go there, you know, stay with Shirdi Baba in the premises of, you know, Shirdi Baba temple, you know, over there for a few months. You know, that sanctifies us and brings that positive energy back, you know, wherever we go. So Jagan Uncle, you know, staying in Prashant Nilayam for so many months, he got that sanctity, brought that sanctity here, and he shared that, you know, with all that positive energy. Thank you, Uncle. With that, I would like to invite you to share your experience.
Thank you. My humble Koti Pranam and Lotus feet of beloved Swami. I'm very grateful that the Lord has given me the opportunity to share with you some thoughts I'm just like a traveler like you, one of you, only a bit older, and just a humble instrument of the Lord. And I'm also learning, just like all of us are in the process, and would like to share what I learned from him, uh, from the Lord. And before I go into the subject, I do want to share a little background, even though Niranjan has given some brief idea. And I'm not much of a speaker, to be honest with you guys. But anyway, I will speak from my heart and also as an instrument of the Lord. I was born in India at that time and West Pakistan now. And the exact date really is not known. At that time, they were not keeping much record, you know. And if I asked mother, she would say that we stayed 3 years here, 3 years here, and that's how she calculated, you know. But I'm around 89 years old. And we lived there in Pakistan in a village setting. Basically, it was a Muslim community with few Hindu families. And my father was a simple employee at the very base level in the village. And it was basically a Muslim community. And my father's very simple man, and my mother very religious and very, and she's the one who taught us, when we were 6, 7 years old. She taught us Hanuman Chalisa and keeping a fast for that day, even though we didn't understand that much at that time. But it was just fun to wait till the nice dinner in the evening, which you get. And usually it is a sweet food, that's what I remember. And then also she will ask us to keep a fast for Ganesh Chaturthi. You will anxiously wait for the moon to come out to, have the dinner. And she would share the story, what happened, So I just want to give a brief idea what happened, how we moved to India, for that matter. When India got independence, and this Pakistan was, also created at the same time. And we used to live in a village. And at that time, we just learned that maybe we have to move from here, but there was no idea of moving to the India for that matter. And we were about 5, 6 miles from the city, and we came and stayed in the city. And the government of India had provided a military for that community, basically Hindu community, which lived in a bounded walls, so that onslaught, no people will come and have a violence on you, and that was the way we lived. And every once in a while, they will, and sometimes they will announce, at the time they will be just, you'll come to know. That's how it was at the time. The train will come from, and they will take all these people to India. So it just so happened, I was about 10 years old at the time. And my older brother, 2 years older, and he had some box on his head, and he carried to the station. There was a train there which was going to come to India. But I was on the way. And then somehow I didn't make it. And so the family could not go. We could not go because the we couldn't make it to the station in time. So what happened, we heard the train was butchered in the next station, which was called Lylepur. It was distant. And we felt that it was the Lord who saved us. Otherwise we would have been one of the people, gone from this world for that matter. So, didn't realize this, but as I reflect back and I see that how God saved us from that at that time. And that was a passenger train, but now another train came after some time. It was a goods train. So we boarded that train and traveled, and there was military, there was a bogie which was a military Indian, protecting us. And on the way there was certain danger because some mob can come and just, there was no law and order, he can kill you and nobody's to ask you, and that was happening. As a matter of fact, when we were in the city was called Gojra Mandi. And in that also, if somebody went out of the gate, and very likely that he would be killed. That's how it was. There was no law and order. So we boarded the train and came to Lahore, and then it was just waiting. We didn't know what's happening because we did not dare to get down because, the problem. And anyway, finally, they took us, brought some trucks, and with which we were transported to Amritsar. That's in India for that matter. And we lived in a camp. My grandmother, who was alone because the only member from her family, my mother was the daughter, and everyone else with the time had passed away, and she lived alone. Most of the time she lived with us, but this time she was living in her town, which was in a different district. And so my mother and of course all of us were very concerned and worried, but how to get, because it was a chaos, in the way of what was happening in the country. So as one of these days, I don't exactly remember who, was walking and the grandmother was coming. And she met right just incidentally. And that's how we got together. And I felt that that was another God's grace, that you don't meet just like this one, and thousands of people were migrating, some coming by trains, other coming by in what they call it, kafla, a whole lot of people walking together. So that was another, the opportunity that God's grace came on us, and then we were saved. And then we they brought us to Kurukshetra. For 1 year we were there. Went to school a little bit there. Now this is just a small story from how we migrated to India in 1947. I just want to share a bit about my introduction to Swami, how it happened, and then the main subject which I have, I will share thoughts and what I learned from Swami. And so this is in 77, 78. Sandeep was, I think, about 1 year older, like that. And a friend of ours, Mr. Mahendra Singh, and family, they were devotee of Sai Baba. He invited me to come to Windsor to see a movie which was, name was Missing Years of Jesus Christ. So we didn't know much about this. At the time I had heard about some yogi and some scandal, about him. Didn't have much opinion about these yogis at the time. That's my just general thought. And we went to see this movie, and there was a bhajan in Windsor, that was Dr. Singh, that was center in his home at that time. And there was a bhajan which we attended, and it was very powerful and very, like soothing to your soul. Uh, and we heard that, and then they were showing a movie. In that movie, on the end, they show Swami come and just say few words only in some movement. I had seen Swami's picture in one of the friends in this Mendes' house, but didn't have much thought about it. But when I looked at that, it just touched my heart. I said, there's something special. So, and at the same time, this family was a beautiful host, served us lunch and treated us very nicely. It kind of gives you the vibes, that you feel very good about the visit. So as I came home, and there's friends of ours, lady was sitting named Madhu Verma. Her husband was a colleague of mine, and we worked in an arbor at the time. And I mentioned about that I saw this movie and I was very touched by it. She says, well, I have a book, on Swami, Miracle Man by Howard Murphy. My husband says, don't read it. I said, can I borrow it from you? He said, okay, And my youngest brother used to stay with me. He was going to college at the time. He knew a little bit about the miracles, and he started telling about the miracles, which I didn't know much about at the time. So I took that book from her and read it, and it really kind of startled me in the sense that in this time where some kind of scandals and these are happening, such a force, such a personage is there, in living. So I read quite a few books, whatever I could get to it, and read quite a few books. And there was a center. The gentleman name was Conan at that time. It was started. They just started the center at the time, Conan. So their daughter and son-in-law used to be here, Ramni, and some of you might remember Reti. They were here. So we used to attend the bhajan, and they would share some experiences. I usually would sit on the back, but I enjoyed the bhajan. But since it was not used to that much, so it took some time to get into open mic. Anyway, they moved away, and then Mahendra Singh, they lived also in an arbor very close to our home, and they would have a center at their home. And so I decided in 1981 that I want to go experience myself how it is in Bhakti, because this is all seen there. And I never been to South. I had no idea where to live, how the food, and the food habits are different. I was very concerned about it, and really not much information was available at that time, because not many people visited at the time. So I just took the liberty to go. I took a flight to New York, and from there I had to take this Air India flight, which will take me to Bangalore. And as I boarded the plane, there was a gentleman sitting on my back and reading Swami's book. And I asked him, are you a devotee of Swami? And he says, yeah, I am. I said, where are you going? He said, I'm going to Puttaparthi too. His name was Reverend Pipes. And he had gone many times and he had quite a few interviews also with the beloved Lord, and so I felt very comfortable. After talking to him, I learned that he missed the flight previous night, which he was supposed to go, and that's how I just tagged along with him. Wherever he went, I just went with him. And so ultimately we reached Puttaparthi, Bangalore. We stayed a couple of days, took rest, bought some things, which he knew what to buy, and went to Puttaparthi. And I still have a very clear idea what happened. We were, at that time, there was darshan time, and Swami was in the veranda. And we were taking the luggage and just having their darshan. And I felt it was so awfully quiet, very, 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 very quiet. That feeling, which you don't get normally. And so I felt good about it, and then we took the room. And everyone is very friendly, and particularly the students were very, very, you ask anything, normally you will get a very reaction, that's a general idea. Young kids, they try to, mislead you or make fun of it or not. But this was very, very friendly. So this thought came to my mind, maybe when my son grows up, maybe if he wants to, then I'll put him to school. And that's really what happened also. But this coming to this, and after we had a room in a round building, myself and Reverend Pipes, we had a taking room there, and all of a sudden, it just a very negative thought started coming to me, very negative. And I said, and I not taken 1 or 2 days, I had taken 3 weeks to stay there. I thought, gosh, but I'm wasting my time here. Maybe I should go home. So these thoughts are coming, in the room. The Reverend Pipe is gone to somewhere. He knew so many people, and he was talking about Swami somewhere. And all of a sudden, the door knocks, and he comes in. And then the thought pattern is stopped. And then it came to mind that there is certainly some power, because it cannot happen at the moment when you are thinking of this so crucial thing. That kind of convinced me inside. And that leaving earlier, that thought dropped. And I stayed on, and I stayed on and enjoyed all the things which were happening at that time in the thing. But I was never able to touch Swami's feet or Swami's. I think the maximum I could get close to is his gown. That's about it. He never spoke to me any word. And I noticed that this Reverend Pipes was, he was not meditating or anything. He was just talking to probably different families. I didn't go along with him. And he seemed to have a very desire to have an interview, but it was not. So finally what he did, he would use a torch to put a light, and he started meditating. And soon enough, Swami called him for an interview. And that another kind of gave me an idea, hey, this is something real, it's not like imaginary. So anyway, after 3 weeks, I went back home and dealt with them, shared all the whatever I learned with the family. Nobody knew much about it at the time, and so that was another, of my, incidences which I had first time. Now with this background, I just want to share what about this surrender, what I learned from Swami's teachings only, and that's what I want to share. This is the surrender is really what I've learned is the mind is the source of all the trouble. All these minds have different thoughts, different memories, different egos, and they are the cause of all this conflict and the wars also. And they are also the cause of the, kind of in the way of self-realization. That's what I learned. Then I learned, they said, what is the way? The way is that mind is very hard to control. That's what I learned, that it's very hard to control the mind. And that's then the thing is, the mind into God's mind. I'm just briefly first giving the overall view what it is. And then there's a Kathopanishad, one of the Upanishads in the scriptures. And Kathopanishad has a one shloka which gives the stages of surrender in a different way. And what it is like you have sense objects, you have senses, you have your mind, you have your intelligence, you have So what they do is they say you surrender your the sense objects. So what they're saying is that senses should decide what they want to see, or what they want to taste, or what they want to touch, or what they want to hear. It's the senses, not the object. For instance, you have gulab jamun. Your tongue wants to eat it. The gulab jamun should not decide that you should eat. It is the tongue which should decide it. Similarly, the other things, like here, the gossip is there, you want to hear, so it's the ear who should decide, not the gossip, okay, I should hear this. So that's the idea of the senses. So this first is the senses from the sense objects, withdrawal of the sense from sense objects, and the senses they put into mind. Mind is master of the senses, and its tendency to go out is put into the intelligence, which is discrimination or higher mind. And this higher mind is further put into the universal mind, which is further put into the God's mind. Then you are really working with God's mind, and you slowly get into like what is the God wants, that's what you become. I just briefly tell you. The next is, we all have heard, there's 9 ways, in Bhagavatam it comes, there are 9 ways of devotion to the Lord. Shravanam, Yitnam, Smaranam, then there's Archanam, then there's a Vandanam, then there's a Vatsyamam, then there's a Dasyam, and then there's a Satyam, and then there's Atmanam. So they also tell you in their way how to merge with the divine, particularly the last one, which is Dasyam. It tells you that you are a servant of the Lord, not 1 day, 2 days, you are the servant of Lord for 24/7. So that means that your ego will come down. When you are a servant, you can't talk before the master. Whatever the master says, you just listen. So that gives you the idea that really it is not me who's working, it is really the Lord who's working. Because as we go further, we will learn that it is really the God consciousness which really gives the life.